Hello and welcome to Wine with Wita, the podcast that is dedicated to engaging with health professionals and caregivers in meaningful discussions. I'm your host, Rita Shamoon, or shall I say, Wita. I'm a pediatric speech pathologist and I am so excited to have you here. Each week, we deep dive into connecting you with caregivers and healthcare professionals, sharing their insights, stories, and key takeaways to help support you with your child's diagnosis and journey. Whether you are a parent, healthcare professional, a lifetime learner, or simply a wine enthusiast, you're in the right place. So let's sit back and relax and enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wine with Wita. I am really excited for today's episode. I've been looking at this gentleman for quite some time and following his story, and I'm sure many families and parents will resonate with the challenges he had as a child, but feel some sort of optimism with the how he's grown up and the success that he's had as an individual. I am very fortunate to have Lewis Huckstep, who is a coach and a performance fulfillment for high achievers coach for many individuals. Welcome to Wine with Wita, Lewis. How are you
Thank you.
today?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the beautiful intro. And I'm excited. I'm obviously very passionate about your mission and what you talk about. And when you reached out, I'm actually learning to say no to a lot of opportunities. So, yeah, when you said it, I was like, it was an absolute yes. As soon as you asked, I saw what you said and had a look to what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, please, let's rock and roll.
Oh, that makes me feel really happy because it's all about sending the message and supporting parents, particularly with those with special needs kids. And your story really hit home with the challenges you've openly discussed and how I guess you took your pain and created a purpose, which I feel many parents would feel optimism, hope, and I'm actually quite proud of your story as a clinician, knowing that yes, there are greatest chances that you are not defined by your disability or your difficulties, but you made something of it. And I can't wait for you to share it today.
Thank you so much.
So you, in the story that you openly discuss, you were raised in a very small town, Norfolk Island, I believe,
Okay.
and you had lots of difficulties making friends, regulating your emotions. Communication was a big part, and as well as learning at school. So talk to me about what your diagnosis is and the challenges you faced in primary and in high school.
Yeah, beautiful. So I was born on Norfolk Island. It's very tiny, and you probably have to Google it for most people. It's between Australia and New Zealand. I think the population is like 18 or 1900 people. Like it's really, really small. You can literally walk to one side to the other in like 2 or 3 hours. So it's super, super small town, beautiful place. But when I grew up, I haven't got like the earliest memories of childhood, but mum and dad's told me some funny stories. But I was diagnosed with Asperger's, ADHD, and autism, and later on anxiety. And I just really, really struggled. Just especially people, like people skills was probably the hardest part. Just understanding people, talking to people, having conversations with people. I remember, I can't remember this, but my mum tells the story really funny. My first day at kindergarten or prep school, whatever they call it back then, they got a phone call from the school and they're like, "You need to get down here. Your son's out of control." And they like shoot down to the school. And apparently they walk in, and apparently I can't remember it, but apparently I'm like grabbing the teacher's hair, just screaming and like pulling the teacher's hair out. And funny story, but I can't remember it. And then they recognized there was something odd about me and something different about me. So they flew me over to Australia to get me tested, and that's when they got I call it the award or the certificate of
I love it.
Asperger's.
No, it is an award.
So
The award.
I want to find it. I actually want to put it behind me on the wall because I find that funny. But anyways, so I got so that coupled with my loving dad, and I've got a good relationship with dad these days, but he was very mentally and emotionally abusive. You can use the word, but just very volatile with his emotions. Yelled all the time, screamed all the time, punched holes in walls. Was physically, verbally abusive to family members. And I just felt really unsafe. So there was like the
Mhm.
struggle with understanding humans and talking to people, of connecting with people, plus the emotional sort of dysregulation. So my nervous system was super jacked up. And then I just really struggled at school with some things. Something that I think your listeners will appreciate is you can't have a disability without a heightened ability. So yes, I
Yeah.
did struggle with some parts of school, like my handwriting to this day. I'm not sure if you guys can see the camera, but my handwriting to this day is absolutely like chicken scratch. Like I can't even read my own handwriting. So my
You
to this day,
understand it though.
I can sometimes when I read it, I'm like, fuck, what does that say? There were some things I didn't understand. So it's like as an example to prove the disability and heightened ability, I struggled to understand concepts. So it made me a very slow learner. But then the balance to that is I'm a very detailed teacher. So if you can't teach it to a 6-year-old, you don't know it well enough. So I find that's one of my gifts is people say, oh, you take all these complex things and you make it understandable for people. So that's a benefit of having that slower learning part to me. I enjoyed physics. I always enjoyed the sort of sciencey side of things, but English struggle street, English
Mm.
spelling, grammar struggle street. So yeah, and that I guess that just led to social settings were hard. Going to birthday parties, I still get a little bit socially anxious going to social settings to these days. I've worked a lot on it. I've done a lot of healing on it and done a lot of work on it. So um, I'm a lot more equipped these days with it. But yeah, they're just I guess some snippets of what childhood was like.
You tapped into something really interesting there where you said you take a complex term, but you teach it in a way that someone can understand it. And I guess as a clinician, we're about going into a child's world and teaching the child based on their interests and how they learn best. And
Yep.
I think as a society, we're coming to terms that we need to understand how children learn so they can be successful rather than expecting children to follow the way that we are teaching.
Yep.
And I think you just really tapped into the importance of following a child and learning about specific learning styles so kids can learn better and be successful on their own path.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something that you might enjoy. So I got diagnosed with ADHD, and just for like disclaimer reasons for everyone, I'm not a qualified psychiatrist, therapist, or anything like that. I've been very alternatively trained with different modalities like NLP, timeline therapy. I'm a Demartini facilitator, plus like 6 or 7 other things, breath work as well.
Mm,
And something that's really served me, especially with the sort of ADHD and learning aspect of things, is yes, break things down simply, but to help people want to actually learn is to understand what someone's values are. And I talk about values all the time with my content because for me, this is my unique definition of ADHD. My definition of it is someone who has a high level of energy and a high sensitivity to boredom. So essentially, you got someone who's got a lot of energy, where if they do something they don't give a shit about, they'll get easily distracted and try to find something else. But because life's always balanced, wherever there's a deficit, there's a surplus elsewhere. So if you then get that same person with ADHD to do something they're actually interested in, they'll be hyper focused and hyper interested in that. And that's like me. Like I struggled at school with some things I didn't care about, like geography. Like I'm terrible
mm,
with geography, still am. But
mm,
you get me to do something like coaching and healing and trauma and beliefs and stuff like that, it's like I'll be hyper focused and hyper lasered in and have high levels of attention. So to help with kids learning and just anything in general is just understand what their values are. Just I've got that in my book
mm,
that's getting launched soon. So I can, if you guys want to learn what that is, that's how you can learn it. But know what someone's values are and their areas of life that intrinsically fulfill someone and actually talk to him about it. I've got a nephew, I think he's 10 now. And I've known this stuff for about sort of 5, 10 years now. And it's funny, I'll see like some people try to talk to him and he'll just kind of like brush him off because they're asking questions based on their values, not his values.
yeah.
But I'll just say, and obviously I know him, he loves soccer and he loves Fortnite. So I'll just say, hey, so why do you love Fortnite so much? So why is that interesting to you? How do you do that? Why do you do that? And he would just go, but if you say like, how was school? Don't care. Like,
Yeah.
shut up. Like, doesn't get much out of it. So if you can just recognize what are their values, whether it's trains, whether it's for him soccer, Fortnite, whatever it may be, what are those things? And then obviously as a parent, I'm not a parent yet, but linking benefits to the things that are the quote need to get done for them to be a good human in society, like being clean, being responsible, following whatever, linking those things to what their values are. Like as an example, how does cleaning your room help you better with Fortnite? Or how does cleaning your room make you better with soccer, as an example? Like how is doing your homework going to make you better at the things you actually care about? And you got to be obviously a little bit creative with that, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's I'm not a parent yet, but that's certainly a tactic I'll be using
It's
one
not
one
about
day.
being a parent, it's about you have the understanding of what challenges you experienced, and you know what your skill sets or your values are, as what you said, but knowing how to tap into that to then thrive in an area that you can be better at. So tell me, how does Fortnite help cleaning a room? Because I've got daughters and it's like, it's always, I clean your room. It's like, it's about how do I get them to understand the benefits of having a clean room?
It's a good question. I always get them to answer it because it's not so much about you telling them what they are; it's for them finding them what they are for themselves. So it's like as a coach, I don't tell someone the answer, but I point them in the direction so they can find it themselves. But if I was to answer that, so it's like I like video games as well, but I don't want to play more of that. So I would link many benefits to it, but I would say something like having a clean environment as an example, having a clean environment puts you in a better headspace, so you're going to perform better on your video game. Having a high standard of things and keeping things in line and more detailed, you're going to be sharper. If you're sharper here, you're going to be sharper there. So I'd like to do stuff like that. So find the traits of doing that and how those traits translate into the things they do care about. A more, I guess, understandable example: I owned gyms for 7 years. That's where I started
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
my entrepreneurial journey, and I would have parents come down all the time and they would say, I'm just not motivated to go to the gym. Oh, sorry. They would say, I'm just not a motivated person. And I would say, bullshit. You're not a motivated person. You just aren't motivated to go to the gym. And that's okay. In other words, they don't have a high value on the gym. And that's okay. Or training
Mm.
or health, call it what you want. So I would then ask him, I said, you told me you're a parent, right? They'll say, yes. I said, do you love your kids? Most of them say yes. All of them say yes. I say, hopefully. And
Worry
then
if they said no.
yeah, concerning. I haven't didn't have a no, but anyways, then I'd say, great. How will you be a better parent by you looking after your health? So I'm getting them to see by doing the thing that they do want to be better at is actually going to give them the things they intrinsically care about. So I talk about the need for motivation is a symptom of an uninspired goal. So if you just get clear on either yourself or your kids or whoever clients humans, what human are you humaning with? What do they intrinsically want? And then how do you get them to see by being better at certain things is going to give them more of what they want. So yeah, I hope that made sense.
Love that. You tap into intrinsic, and I'm a big believer in not rewarding a child by a token, but more rewarding them so their intrinsic belief system gets stronger because they feel I can achieve this and therefore I can do it again. Reflecting to when you were a child and you're facing all those challenges, how did you support your intrinsic belief system, or who supported your intrinsic belief system so you can achieve certain academic success or social success?
Look, I didn't start the self growth, self awakening period of my life till I was 18. So
Mm.
if you're asking before then, it was so it's the pain and pleasure drivers. So pain and pleasure are our survival drivers. Like it works
Mm,
until it doesn't. It's like the Tom Brady example they use all the time. Like he had the chip on his shoulder of not whatever being the last draft pick, whatever, and that chip on the shoulder, that pain drove him. But at some point, the chip goes away, and then you do it for other reasons. So it shifts
mm.
from extrinsic to intrinsic. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a good example of
Yeah.
this. Like the bottom two tiers are around survival, eating food, feeling safe, like basic survival needs. But once those are satisfied, it then shifts to more your intrinsic purpose driven like fulfillment drivers, and that's where values and purpose and stuff come into it. So
Mm.
prior to my, I guess, awakening and spiritual growth and inner work, it was extrinsic, to be real with you. It was external achievement because I felt like it wasn't enough. I love Tony Robbins. That was I say Tony Robbins is a
He's
gateway
great.
drug to self development. So
Yeah.
I did his events when I was 18. That was the first event that I went to, and his documentary, it's on Netflix. If you guys haven't seen it, it's called "I'm Not Your Guru." I've watched it like 10 times. It's amazing. And
He's great. Yeah, and Dr.
right at
Joe
the
as well is great.
yeah, big fan of Dr. Joe's too.
Mhm.
And right at the end of Tony's movie, "I'm Not Your Guru," he says one of those questions of who did you need to be for your parents? It's like he said, well, what parent did you crave love from the most growing up? And for me, that was dad. And who did you need to be for that parent? And for me, it was an achiever. So I learned that for me, football was the catalyst for that, and then school. And so early on, it wasn't intrinsic at all because I didn't understand this stuff. You can't be held accountable to something you're not aware of, and I wasn't aware of any of this shit. So I was just doing
Mhm,
the best of what I
mm.
had, as we all are, and I was just honestly doing things to prove my worth, to prove that I was enough. Where it's a fallacy because your worth from the moment you're born to the moment you die never changes. It's your perception and your beliefs upon that shift. So I guess used that pain to a certain degree, got me a certain level of success, got me 3 gyms, did well, network marketing and some other business stuff that I did. And then, yeah, hit some dark night of the souls. I was doing a lot of self growth, so that didn't go away, but I just went deeper and deeper and deeper. I got into like DeMartini's world, into Joe Dispenza's world, into Wayne Dyer's world, and started healing more, doing more of the trauma work, the healing work, got clear on my purpose, my values, and those are all the intrinsic drivers. And that's where I went from the gyms. I sold the gyms to doing what I do now. And yeah, early days, very extrinsic because that's just I used what I had, and that's what I had back then. And
Mm.
yeah, not until probably 5 years ago when I got really clear on values, purpose, vision, who I am authentically, intrinsically. That's when that shift happened.
What a journey. Can I just say, I'm proud of you. I know we haven't even this is our first time networking with each other, but to hear how far you have come spiritually, emotionally, and from a business perspective, I mean, I'm actually in awe of what you've done. So congratulations. It's definitely a poster boy moment for clients of mine. Say, look, there is success. You are not defined by your disability. Your child's not defined by their disability, but it's about understanding their values, their purpose, and supporting that along the way so they can find their own path. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
great to hear. Thank you, Lewis.
my
I
pleasure.
want to tap into the challenges you faced in more detail with your learning. What did you said you weren't a fan of geography, but you loved your physics. How did you combat that, and who supported you along the way to learn better in the schooling system?
Um, I had some beautiful teachers. Those certainly helped out. Look, the pain driver of feeling like shit if you didn't get an A, that definitely came in
Mm,
there. So those extrinsic things, trying to prove my worth. So those things sort of come back into it. But I haven't really been asked that question, so I just want to sit with it for a little bit. Can you
yeah,
ask the
sure.
question again, just so I can sit with it?
So, what challenges do you face with learning at school, and then who supported you navigate those challenges so you can access, say, the curriculum better and learn certain concepts better too?
Look, the stuff that I'll say it a little bit differently, but it's similar to what I was saying before. The stuff I didn't value, I struggled with, and you can
Mhm.
always you can try and force a fish to climb a tree. It's just very challenging, and it's not going to be very good at it, and it's going to feel like it's a piece of shit because it's not good at it. So, but just I guess how the traditional education system's set up is like you kind of like you're like tested on these very select narrow areas of excellence. And if you intrinsically aren't aligned with that, you're going to feel stupid, feel like you're not enough, and all that stuff. So the things I wasn't good at, I just kind of gritted my teeth and just fucking push through it. So I just sit down and just something I'm proud of, a trait I get from definitely my dad is just that ability to push through pain. Grit is the trait. So definitely that's helped out with it, and I got that from football as well. I've got a sports background,
Yeah.
so the trade of you know what, even though it's not what I'm intrinsically driven to do, it's part of the curriculum, it's part of what we're going to learn. I'm not inspired by it, but I'll do what I need to do to get through it. So there's that part. But then the stuff I did enjoy, like physics, biology, sports, obviously football and all that stuff, PE, I obviously love that stuff. So I excelled at that. I got a couple of awards for being like highest in the grade for some of those things. But yeah, the stuff I didn't enjoy, I just kind of gritted my teeth and pushed through it. Parents helped with that. Teachers helped with that. I remember I had a couple of really beautiful teachers at high school towards the end of towards the end of schooling, who would mentor me for free or tutor me for free, which I was really grateful for. So I had some really beautiful mentors that helped me and inspired me.
Did you access speech pathology and occupational therapy to support with your learning?
I went through learning difficulty classes.
So, like with your social difficulties, whether you ever offered social skill groups to learn how to learn some scripts when you're trying to make friends or to problem solve, do you recall accessing those services?
Outside of when I was younger, I haven't got the memory of it, but I think so.
Mm.
I know I got flown to Australia to be tested. Because I actually haven't. You're making me want to go have these conversations with mum and dad. But
Yeah.
I remember from my knowledge, dad and mum flew me over to Australia to get me tested, and they recommended certain medications which they opted against, which I'm grateful for this day. But they also then recommended things, and I don't know if I did go down that path. I can't remember because I can't even remember the test because
Mm.
I think I was like
Mm.
4 years old or 5 years old, so I can't actually
Yeah,
remember
so
any of
young.
that.
Mm.
I had like special like I had tutors, definitely had a lot of tutors that would slow things down for me and help me with that. I never had speech help, or I didn't have help with that. And because we're on Norfolk, I would assume the resources wouldn't be very
Probably
high.
like
Like,
not much access to it. Yeah, yeah. So you again, even back when you were younger, telehealth services would have been quite minuscule as well. So
yeah.
you accessed what was you access services that were easy for your family, such as the support in the school and tutors and so forth. You mentioned sporting was a great joy of yours. Did any teachers or mentors recommend or encourage you to go down the path of NRL and playing for the Broncos as well, or and
My
Titans as well?
yeah,
Tell us about that.
yeah, for sure. So that's definitely my dad. So I think, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have a conversation with dad from this conversation. So I've just got sort of glimpses of what he's told me. So he said once they got the diagnostics, Asperger's and ADHD and autism, they said he's from memory. We've only had this conversation once. I think he said along the lines of doing things to get him outside of his structure is going to be beneficial. He's going to be very resistant to it, but it is good for him long term. And I'd certainly see that. I'm like the biggest like routine person on the planet. Like if someone wants to do something with me, I need like 3 weeks notice to to consider whether I will or not. Sporting was great for that. He told me this. I can't remember this, but he told me this. He remember the first time he put me on the sports field. This is back on Norfolk, and for context, our rugby league there was only two teams, so you'd play the same team every single week. So if you had the better team, you had a good year. If you had a shit team, you
Yeah,
had a good year. But from what he told me, he said he remembers he put it was on the field and he'd have to literally walk up and down the sideline next to me to get me comfortable with doing that. So I can't remember that, but he told me about that. But I definitely enjoyed sport. I find, and you probably know more about this than I do, but from my experience with Asperger's is once I know the structure, I feel very comfortable and I feel like
yeah.
the rules, like how does
The
the
routine, yeah, the
routine,
structure.
the
Yeah,
rules, and yeah, having structure and understanding the rules makes it really easy for me. I think that's why I didn't like English as much because it's like
yeah.
you get graded on like the storytelling versus like maths and physics. It's like you're right, you're right. There's no gray area. It's like
You
you
have
got it
always
right or
this
you got
one
it wrong.
answer. Yeah,
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 there's a defined answer. So I enjoyed that because I understood the rules of the game. So I understood you do this, you do this, you do this, you succeed. So I think that's where I enjoyed that, and I enjoy that across the board. And if you find my teaching style, that's how I do it. I said this is
yeah,
the concept. Let's teach it to whatever. Here are the steps we go through to get the result. So yeah, but again, I don't have much of the earlier memories, but those are things that dad's told me and mum's told me. But I'll certainly pick up some more conversations with them about it. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You have mentioned your dad quite a few times in this chat, and he as challenging as the challenges that you experienced, but you also speak about how he supported you along the way. Like, for example, making sure he walks up and down the field to know that you're there, or so you'll become familiar with it. What would you tell parents, or what advice would you tell parents that have a child with level one autism or even Asperger's with how they can support their child as well?
Holy, that's a big question.
More from, like, your own personal experiences, but and how you felt your parents or your particularly your dad's support gave you that intrinsic belief.
I don't know if this is a general answer in or outside of Asperger's, but obviously just my experience with it. It's just knowing that you've got that safe environment to come back to. I've got a podcast and I had Dr. Vanessa Lapointe come on, and she's like
Yeah, she's
a child.
amazing. Yeah.
I love it. I'm reading her book at the moment because we're getting ready for kids. But she came
Ah,
on, and something I got from her is just like the comfort zone, the stretch zone, and the break zone. So parents are the safe zone. So you want to be able to let your kids. I think just the anxiety, or sorry, the autistic and the spectrum just kind of makes things more challenging and more fun and more just heightens everything. So
spicy.
it yeah, makes it a bit more spicy to deal with. So I think just really ramping up that level of safety for your child to be able to know that they are able to go out to the stretch zone and fall over, make mistakes, and they always have that safe space to come back to, whether it's just to be seen, to feel held, to be heard, to vent, to regulate their emotions, because especially my nervous system was pretty jacked up. So hence
Mm,
why I'm a breathwork facilitator and I do breathwork and all that stuff now. So yeah, I would say just having a level of strong connection with your child, making sure that they know that yes, this is you mentioned it earlier. I was going to chime into it. Like this is like it's a paradox here. So it's good nor bad, but it's just two sides to a coin. Of I don't like labels because of the limitations that come along with it, but they are useful so you can sort of see people and understand how people operate better. But it kind of the compliment you gave me earlier is I didn't let the label become my defining um, define who I am. And that's the part that I'm very passionate about because, yes, if I listened to that label, which I did for a long time, of he's bad in social settings, socially awkward, doesn't understand things, blah, blah. That the thing, because the part of your ego, sorry, a trait of your ego is you make beliefs true. So if you believe that you are this and these are your limitations, that becomes the box that you're stuck in. So, yeah, I think just back to the parenting question is just bring awareness that you might have these gifts and word them as gifts. These are the gifts that you have. These are the downsides to your gifts, but here are the upsides to your gifts. And these are your uniqueness because I think of things differently. I don't understand things differently. I ask a lot of questions. I can thoroughly understand and teach things to a level that other people can't. And that's where the gift comes. That's the heightened ability that comes from a disability. So just being able to get the individual, the child, to really understand and open up their gifts and own their gifts, but then be aware of the downsides and how can you course correct and put boundaries in place, such as getting me out of routine, getting me out of my comfort zone and stuff like that. So just kind of dancing between those, I think would help really well. Values, what we spoke about, recognizing
Yeah.
what's important to the person, not just, and this is not just for that, for every human on the planet. Don't project your values onto others. Have to, ought to, got to, should, must, they're all projection words. So just recognize who is your beautiful gift of a child. What are their values? What lights them up? What's their soul's gifts? What are the gifts of their disability? What are the downsides you want to be aware of so you can course correct and prepare for them? I think those things would have gone a long way
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, you nailed it. It was perfect. And what I love, we've repeated this throughout the whole chat. Your child isn't defined by their diagnosis, but let's look at their difficulties and make it into a strength and
Yeah.
how we can use their challenges to let them have a fulfilling life by with whatever path they take. And I think that is so beautiful to say to parents where I feel as a society we're conditioned to have this idea of what's perfect or an idea of what's ideal for a child. But the reality is no, every individual is different and everyone has their strengths and challenges. But let's not see it as a challenge, but rather how can we shape this to be a strength of your child and they can use it in a more positive manner.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, beautiful. I wanted to know about your story. I'll let the listeners know what got you into the gym set, and what I love when I listen to your story, how you worked for free. Was it for
Yeah.
2 years that you worked for free for a gym, more for to learn the skills, but also I think the fact that there was no financial aspect associated with it, you were free to just be you and just to let your skill set run and learn with how you can network and communicate with people, which I feel was actually beautiful to hear because you said that was such a challenge as a child to talk to people and socialize. But you used, again, and we've said this a lot, your pain into something where you've learnt to grow and it just led you to another path. So please share your story so the listeners can understand it more.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So so I hadn't started the self growth part yet. So I had some really awesome teachers at school that really helped me to a degree where they were very much like father figures and mentors for me, and I thought I could give this back to other kids. So I decided I'd become a teacher, and I also was into fitness and sports. So I was contracted with, as you mentioned, the Titans and the Broncos when I was younger, between the ages of 12 to 18. And so I decided I'll become a high school teacher and a personal trainer. That would be the backup plan if footy didn't work. So I was in year 12 and I repeated year 12 because I couldn't keep up with all the sport because I was doing a ton of sport and trying to keep up with everything. So I decided, let's start the fitness journey. Let's start applying for jobs and all that stuff. And I applied to like eight or 10 gyms. They all said no. Had one trial, went and did it. They knocked me back and they just said, you need experience, you need experience, you need experience. I was like, how the fuck do you get any? Like, I'm trying to get
I
none.
know.
How do you get any? So I gave up and I just said, oh, don't worry, I'll come back to it later because I was finishing year 12. So I said, I'll just come back to this when I'm done. And then a lady in my class, because I'd repeated a year, so she was a year younger than me, and she got a job in a gym. I was like, fuck, if she can do it, why can't I do it? So jump back on it. And I jumped on Gumtree out of all the apps on the planet to look for a job. This is like in 2015. So it wasn't like, it was very like selling old cars and shit. So, so I jumped on Gumtree and there was a place for a gym that I'd never heard of. And I called them up and I said, "Hey mate, look, I'm not looking for any money. I just want some experience. Can I just come down and work for free and get some experience? Is that okay?" He said, "Yep, absolutely." Went down there, and that was just like the start to the journey that I went on. And yeah, I ended up working for free. I actually paid for a job, so he actually made me pay a gym membership, the cheeky bastard. So I paid for a job for 2.5 years. Now I made money through that because it was kind of like a gym. You'd bring them down for training, and yes, they would pay a gym membership, but you'd also build a network marketing business through the business through the supplements. So I made money through the supplements. I was making 6 figures when I was 19, so I just like worked, did that. Eventually, the network marketing fizzled out just because it was hard to build both. Then I ended up buying half of that gym. I did a vendor finance to buy the first one after 2.5 years. So yeah, that's where that started, and then that took off, grew, had some success, had some failures, and then yeah, that's the start of the journey, anyways.
I love it. I'm absolutely loving that you used that, and then it shaped you into being a coach and where you are now. So please share us your story of your experiences of owning the gym and then how that led you to being the performance coach
Yeah, beautiful.
that you
So
are. Hold on, let me just make a comment. The very successful performance coach that you are, and the content that you share, like I completely resonate with them. And it's the content that you share makes me reflect all the time. Going, okay, what are my values? What are my triggers? What can I do that align with who I am, and what can I be better? And I guess when I'm reflecting on working on myself, it makes me think, how can I encourage this with my little kiddos that I'm working at,
yeah,
so they can have that intrinsic belief so they can be successful or achieve goals that they want to later in life. So enough about me, but about
yeah.
you now.
I love all that. Thank you for sharing that stuff, and thank you for the compliments. Very received as well. So the gym, so the chapter, that was pretty much the start of it. And then I bought half of the gym when I was 20. And then you a lot of people have seen this, like it's the growth of success. There's like a chart. You start as the uninformed optimist, where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's have some fun. That was pretty much us. And then you become the informed pessimist when you recognize the challenges and problems that go into being successful, and then you start to freak out. Then you go through the valley of despair, and if you don't push through that, you burn out, fail, go repeat and repeat again, and repeat. Or you get to the other side where you become an informed optimist, where you recognize the challenges and what's required, and you're willing to push through it. So I very much was very uninformed for a long time. So because I grew really, really quickly, opened a second gym at 21, opened a third at 22. And I was just very much like the extreme hustler, but because a lot of it was it was all fueled at that point from external reasons. Like, I'm not enough, I'm not
Mm.
worthy, I'm going to show the world how successful I am. I had 3 times gym owner at 22 on my Instagram bio just to show people how successful I was, even though I felt like I was useless. I was super anxious, I was super burnt out, I had no personal life. I was just like work, 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 work. So that was me for about 7 years. In that journey, though, learned a lot. So we did a lot of self development. So I was working with in masterminds. I had mentors. I was doing a lot of growth, and then I started to do more of the personal growth. I think a lot of people, and myself included, get really caught up on the professional growth, like systems, processes, leads, sales, like operations and stuff like that. And you do need that, but
Mm.
I talk about like a spectrum. You've kind of got on one side your spiritual people who are like meditating, levitating, and crystals and kumbaya all day, and generally they've got no money, they're super broke. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got like
R&B.
yeah, Byron Bay hippies, and I've got some friends that are like that. So if you guys are listening, you're welcome. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got your like hardcore analytical business systems people, where it's like systems, processes, sales, marketing, operations. Those people generally are quite successful, money speaking or financially, but they're generally unfulfilled. And that for me, it's like I started very much like the hustle work, skills, hustle, hustle, hustle. And I'd never really leaned into like my values, my purpose, my healing, and all that stuff. So I started to lean more into that through, like I said, Tony Robbins was the gateway, and then Cohen Ray, then DeMartini, then Joe Dispenza, then Wayne Dyer, and a lot of other mentors that I've worked with over the time. And the thing is, your values and your purpose, it's always revealing itself to you. People just aren't aware of it. So it's when you get a tear of inspiration, you're perceiving a piece of your purpose. When you feel
Mm.
inspired, when you get awe-inspired goosebumps, when you get energized, like people just aren't conscious of it. So it's actually going through values and purpose processes, which is what I do. It just brings that awareness to you. So whilst I was doing the gyms, yes, like I knew how to train, I knew how to eat relatively well, but I wasn't like that pumped up about protein and calories and fat loss. Like that was just like the service we provided. I was more passionate about the mindset stuff. I remember there was one
Mm.
in particular. I had this client come down for a trial, and she came down for her goal setting session, and she ended up telling me in that session, and I'd already done a lot of growth here, so I could handle this. I didn't start at this level, but she ended up telling me that her husband had took his own life 3 months previous to that conversation, and we ended up unpacking that and healing through that, dissolving that, balancing that, using the tools that I had at the time. And she was just in tears of gratitude and love from a fucking goal setting consult. And she signed up
Mm.
that day. Don't get me wrong. So I got the sale out of it. But that's the shit I loved. Like I loved hearing of people like, what are you struggling with? What are you working through right now? What do you love? What's your vision look like? How are you getting there? What's stopping you from getting there? Like what's going on in your personal life? Like I was just always drawn to those conversations. So those are the breadcrumbs. So what you talk about, what you think about, what you're inspired by, what you get energized by, what you get tears of inspiration from, those are all the breadcrumbs the universe is leaving you. A lot of people just aren't listening to them. Where my
Mm.
work essentially brings that to your awareness so you can actually build a life, an inspired life by living that out.
I
And
don't
I
mean
guess
to interrupt. I don't
go
mean
for it.
to interrupt, but something just came to me. The way you helped that woman out after losing her husband or her partner, it's like you spoke to her in a way that you wanted to be spoken to as a child, with letting her share her story. But then I feel like you needed that person in your life as that 6-year-old climbing on the kindergarten teacher, rather than being identified from the behavior, oh, he's a little shit,
Yeah,
pulling the teacher's hair. But why is he behaving this way? What are your values here, little Lewis? How can we understand you better so your behavior isn't your definitive moment, but more let's tackle into your challenges to help you out. Which when you were saying that, I just thought of the young Lewis thinking, why couldn't someone be there for me when I was younger?
I
Like
love it.
how you are to many individuals now.
Thank you, thank you. And I 10,000% agree because when you do the purpose process I take people through, your purpose is an expression of your greatest core wound.
Yeah.
And from what you just said, what lines up to what you just said, you become who you needed when you're at your lowest. So when I go
Yeah.
through the purpose process, we identify your core wound, which is 4 pieces to that, what you did and didn't get from mum and dad. We find a
Mm.
moment when we find the theme of it. We find an experience where you experienced that. And then we ask the questions of what are the things you needed back then. So everything you just said
Mm.
lines spot up with that. So you're very much becoming the person you needed when you're at your lowest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know
Sorry, I
where
had to just say that. Yeah, so
no,
you were
you're good.
back on how you were understanding people's values and really just not about the sales, but more understanding their purpose as to why they're joining the gym. And in your story, you mentioned, was it over 2,000 sales you made in the short time? Like you made the
Uh,
most amount of people that signed up for the gym,
yeah,
but purely not by selling the gym, but listening to them. And I think that comes back down to how we build relationships with people. We
yeah,
listen to comprehend, not listen to communicate. And that is so important when we're communicating with kids or when we're building relationships in general. We listen to comprehend what the person's feeling and what's in their mindset, but more how can we help them by just being present and listening. I think a lot of individuals don't do that.
yeah. I've got so much alignment with who you are and what you say. You use different words to describe what I say as well, which is perfect. And
Mm.
yeah, I resonate with all of that. So I think the number, I don't have the definitive number. I just I guesstimated and rounded it down just on my averages of how many sales I was making per
Mm.
week. So it was over 7 years or 8 years. It was $3,000. Sorry,
Wow.
3,000 sales. That's individual like consults I've taken, and that doesn't include the ones that didn't sign up. So there'd be like maybe 5,000+ that didn't sign up. So yeah, I got a lot of practice. And it was kind of like that skill of like social settings, communication, and all that stuff. And then I was running sessions. I was running up to 6 sessions a day of between 5 to 100 people in the gym as well. So I was coaching and talking to people. So it was very much like a real jump into the deep end of actual humans and communication and relationships. So I got a epic education on human being psychology, what make people tick, how to connect with people, how to build rapport. I remember it was like I always like the challenging ones that were hard to connect with. It's literally the
Like
words
there's a
of
wall. You can't
yeah,
get
there's
that
more.
wall down.
There was one in particular, and it was towards the end of the gym chapter. So I was I coached thousands of people at this time. So, and she was just harder than normal. And because when I'm coaching, because the best way to connect with people, kind of what we're talking about, is just understand what their values are. And you can understand, if you're actually conscious of what people say, you'll be able to recognize their values. So if I say, hey, Rita, what did you get up to on the weekend? Whatever your answers are, if I look for the themes or the areas of life you refer to, oh, I spent some time with my kids. Okay, kids or family or parenting is important to you. So it's like, oh, so tell me, why do you love parenting? And I'll be able to, I'll let you, you let the
Mm.
person talk about what they want to talk about. So I remember there was just one, I can't remember her name, but it was towards the end and she was just like a brick fucking wall and I just couldn't crack it. And then I had her on social media and I saw she went traveling and I was like, hey, do you love traveling? And like, she just lit up and she
Chill
opened
it
up and I was
up.
like, she lit up. So it's just like, you got to find the cheat codes. But yeah, I did that for 7 years. And those conversations just kept loving it, kept loving it, kept loving it. The gym, there was another factor of the actual franchise. So I owned franchises. I wasn't the franchisee. I wasn't the franchisor. I was the franchisee. I always get that wrong. But
Mm.
the franchise started to go under, so it started to like implode from the inside out. So that definitely contributed to me wanting to get out of there. So I gave one back in just before COVID. I think in November before COVID, I gave one of my gyms back. We just hit a breaking point. I couldn't handle it. And then I went through COVID with 2 gyms, and this is when I was really going into like I was just starting to take on coaching clients. I was just because I was out of the gyms kind of, and I was starting to coach people in the way that I like coaching them. So I started to do that. Then I ended up my business partner wanted to sue the franchise, and I was best friends with the franchisor, so I was in a really shit position for that. So
Mm.
like my best friend, who was the one I called all those years ago to ask for the work experience. So I was best friends with him, and then my business partner wanted to sue him, and I'm her business partner. So that was fucking shit. So
Jeez.
that we ended up selling that to the franchise, and then I had one, so I went from 3 down to 1. But I'd hired myself out of that gym, so I had all the time. I worked there for an hour a week just with the management team, and I was making about 2 to 3 grand a week personally. So I had a full time income, 1 hour work of week, and then I had all this time and space. I'd done a lot of work. I'd found my values, my purpose, my mission, my vision, all that stuff by then. And then it's like, I want to do coaching. And I'd made a decision earlier. So I think it was just before COVID happened. Once I got rid of the first gym, I was like, this is my purpose. This is my vision. This is where I want to head. And it's not gyms. I will do whatever I need to get to a point where I get to do this full time, whether it's to hire myself out of the 2. Obviously, my business partner happened. And so that didn't come to be. So got rid of that. And then I had the last one, and it was full time. I was coaching people for about a year, and then after a year of running that gym and doing the coaching full time, one of the managers in this, he said, "Oh, like I would love to buy this place," and his vision and his passion was health. So I said, well, "Why not? Let's come up with a deal." I sold that to him almost 12 months ago now. Actually, it's next month will be 12 months.
Wow.
So so I've been coaching full time for coming up to 3 years. Obviously, and when I say full time, like on this style of coaching, I've been coaching people for about 10 years, but like full time on this way for about 3. And yeah, I just fucking love it. It's been I
Yeah.
wake up. I had a client this morning, and yeah, I love what I do.
Can I just ask? I'm going to ask: are you proud of yourself with how far you've come and how many obstacles you have tackled along the way?
Short answer, absolutely. I do
Yeah,
still have
damn
that.
straight.
Um, I have that tendency of like, what's next and what's next and what's next.
Yeah,
So
which is
the
okay.
book, the book is probably the one I'm most proud of because it's been even though it's from the outside looking in, I guess it depends who you're talking to. It depends what someone's values are, right? Like some people might think
Yeah,
the gym's more impressive than a book, but for me, like
the
the
book is.
yeah, the book for me has been a lot more challenging
Yeah.
because it's like if you want instant gratification, don't write a book. It's like you have to. I literally have my phone and I'll throw my phone to the other side of the room and to not get distracted because there's no magic. I
Yeah,
didn't use any chat GPT. I didn't use any AI to do this shit. It was me sitting down in a computer. I've got a coach who's supported me, but yeah, that's yeah, definitely. There's definitely moments of pride, and I've got this conscious community, and like people share their healing, their breakthroughs, them finding their purpose, their values, and that shit lights me up. So,
yeah.
yeah, I love what I do. I'm very proud of the man that I am, and I've still got a ton of work to do. I still get triggered. I still got limitations. I'm still healing. I'm still working on me. But yeah, it's been a great journey. I still feel like I'm only warming up. I feel like there's some really cool things to come once the book's launched, which will be in 2 weeks. Then I'll
Can't
be
wait.
working on the next projects, which will be events, and yeah, just helping more people, expanding the brand, helping clients, doing what I can to give back.
Awesome. I want to talk about the book soon, but what would you tell if you were to go back to that kindergarten classroom where Lewis is climbing on the teacher? What would you tell him with all the
Uh,
experience that you've had in your life? What would you tell him?
firstly, I wouldn't say anything. I would soothe him. So I would get him regulated first. So because everything that anyone's doing, so I talk about trauma, traumatic reactions, or coping strategies and triggers. So a trauma for me is a moment in time when something was too much or not enough, and it will be a trait, a behavior, an action, an inaction, or a character trait. And then a coping strategy is like what people see. It's the dissociation, it's the anger, it's the screaming, it's the yelling, it's the eating the food, smoking the cigarette. It's what we do, but it's what we do to overcompensate or to hide or protect yourself from the trauma. And then a trigger activates it. So for me back then, if I was doing I'm just hypothetically speaking, if I was doing that, I'm obviously triggered and I'm yelling, screaming, doing what I need to do, but it will be protecting me or hiding me from something. So it might be overstimulation, might
Mhm.
be feeling unseen, feeling scared. I would assume it'd probably be overwhelmed or scared. Would probably be just knowing
Also, because it was
myself.
unfamiliar territory.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
probably haven't been to the school before, didn't know who these people were, and that was your coping mechanism of trying to regulate yourself,
yeah.
and again, labeled through your behavior.
Yep, yep, perfect, and yeah, really well articulated. So, I'd start
Mm.
with soothing, because one of the roles I'm learning this from Vanessa Lapointe at the moment, but one of the roles of parents is to co-regulate your child until they learn how to regulate themselves, because children are not born with the capacity to regulate themselves. So I thought that was
Yeah.
super aligned with what I understand. So I only learned that like 2 days ago, but that's I think that's fucking perfect. So I would say co-regulation would be probably something I would have needed back then, to know that I was safe, to know that I was enough, and then to say,
Mm.
okay, what's causing this? What's freaking you out? What's causing this? What do you need help with? Okay, how can we move together? What would you like to do to move through this and work with me through that? Um, yeah, that was a great question. Thank you for
I
asking that.
love it. No, it's so true. I love that you have taken everything that you have learnt and then know how to apply it to the little Lewis, and how, I guess, even as educators, let's not label the child as a shit or whatever we want to call them. Focus on regulation and understanding values and so forth and so forth. And I think if we start to just give kids that little time, it's going to create magic, and it's going to build rapport, and it's going to build what we said before, connection, because I'm a big believer in that connection creates communication.
Yeah.
When you connect, all the beautiful things come along. So tell me about this book that you just literally advertised 2 days ago or 3 days ago,
Yeah.
this baby of yours. It's in the background, the Inspired Life Method.
Yes, yes. It's yeah.
Talk to me about your why behind this book.
So I've got a mentor, Cody McAuliffe. Shout out. He's super weird and autistic like me. I love him. And I was in his mastermind, and we sit down and and I started writing this book like 4 times over the last 3 years, but I just like procrastinate, COVID, whatever, excuses. And we do this exercise, and you sit down and he says, "You've got 6 months to live. What do you do?" That was it. And then you just got to start writing, and you write down what you do. And the first sentence was, "I finally write the book I've been talking shit about for whatever period of time." And then it's like, and then I have kids and family and whatever, whatever, whatever. And once you're done, he gets up and says, "Whatever you just wrote down, those are your values that you're procrastinating on." And I'm like, oh,
Mm.
well, it's like, you
That
motherfucker.
would have
So
been a trigger.
yeah. I was like, "You're fucking right." And that was in January. That was the first week of January this year. So I'd literally, I don't even know whether, I think I might have deleted them, but I had written like a version of the first chapter like 3 years ago. I just stopped and procrastinated all that stuff. And then, yeah, I did that exercise with Cody. And that day I got home and I just canceled all my projects. And I just transitioned my business model at the same time. So it was a bit chaotic at the start of this year, but I was transitioning a business model, but I literally like canceled all the other things I was going to work on. I was like, I'm going to start writing this book. And then for, I think it was 4 to 8 hours a day for the following 7 months, I was just writing. It was the first minimum 4 up to 8 hours of my day. I would be writing this book, sitting down, writing it,
Wow.
wording it, practicing it, editing it, sending it off to whatever. And then in between that, I was building my business to obviously pay the bills and make money. So it was just like book, work. And yeah, that's been me for 2024. So that's been the biggest project
Wow,
of my
what a
life that I've put
journey.
together. So yeah, I'm excited to bring it out. It comes out
2 weeks,
October
you said?
18th. Yeah, 2 weeks
October
tomorrow.
18th?
Yeah,
All right. So I'm saying this, I'm going to say it on my podcast. Whoever hears this little segment of Lewis, please message me, and I would love to donate this book to you,
amazing.
or gift you this book by paying it forward to to ensure that you are tapping into your values better, and to get some inspiration from Lewis's story. So
Thank
if
you.
you hear this, send me a DM, please.
I appreciate that.
Lewis, before we finish up, I wanted to I have 2 questions I'd like to ask my guests.
Go for it.
What's one thing you wish people could understand about you?
Um, I would say that and I say this just because people's perceptions of people with an audience, like with people with followers, they just like kind of pedestal people, and I've done that before. So I've had people like think I'm like fucking this like superhero, which I take the compliment, but I just think I'm just a human fucking being. Like I'm
Mm,
someone who has my shit. I still get triggered. I'm still healing. I take action. I do the best with what I have, and I'm just someone who has been willing to look within and do some really deep inner work, whilst also taking action, because some people do one without the other. And yeah, I'm a flawed, imperfect human who's just trying to give his gift back to the world and take imperfect action. And yeah, I'm just a human. Like I think people get caught up on like, oh, he's got X amount of followers, he's achieved X amount of whatever, and they pedestal you. And yeah, I'm just a human. I'm just a human, just
yeah.
like you. I get anxious sometimes. I get fearful sometimes. I feel insecure sometimes. I ask my partner, "Do you still love me?" Sometimes.
Oh,
I'm just like every other human. So
yeah.
yeah, that would be my answer.
I love that you raise light to that. You are not defined by your followers. You're
Yeah,
defined by the gifts that you give back through your purpose and your intention on the planet. So I love that you've tapped into that. That despite you have such a large following, but there's a reason why your following is so large, because you're so true to yourself and your message is consistent and accurate every single time, and you don't fluff around, which I love about your platform.
thank you.
So
I
thank you for
appreciate it.
answering. Um, my next question is, what word would you tell yourself today to make yourself a better version of yourself tomorrow?
What word? One word.
Mm, one word.
One word.
So my word today, I do this every morning on my walk. My word of the day is trust.
Yeah. The
Trust and let the light lead.
Yeah, the word for me was surrender. That was the one that came through. So just surrender whatever tension, expectations, personas that we try to present to the world. So yeah, just surrender and enjoy the process. Don't be so tense. Like I'm very guilty of work, 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 work. I still have that in me. So
We all are. Yeah.
yeah,
we
just willing to surrender, let go, enjoy the journey more, have fun more. So surrender would be my word.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability. So, thank you, Lewis, for being an amazing guest. I have loved this conversation. It tapped into your challenges, but then how you used your challenge into an amazing purpose that you're using to service so many individuals on this planet, virtually and face to face, which I am in awe of. I
Thank you.
love the messages you have sent, and you have helped me indirectly through too with understanding my traumas, my triggers, and how to become a better version of myself, but also a better version so my daughters have a model to look up to when they're growing up. So thank you for your raw vulnerability today. For
Thank you.
anyone that wants to access Lewis's book, I'll put it in my show notes, his website and his Insta handle, or you can just have a look on my page when I tag him on my stories. So thank you, Lewis, for your time. I'm forever grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of Wine with Wita. I hope you found some new inspiration, learnt something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be so grateful if you please leave a 5-star review, as it really helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it takes 5 seconds. If you're keen for more strategies and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow RS Speech Pathology.